to go over with you the 3 weirdest fat loss hacks you probably aren't using. My main goal with this is to shed some light on some of these really simple, effective fat loss strategies that are going to have a whole cascade of other positive effects. The first one is be cold. All right, now what I mean by be cold is twofold. I mean, when your body is literally trying to regulate temperature, there's something that happens within the body and it's called thermoregulation. So the simple fact is what you're going to do is decrease the temperature of either your office or your home, somewhere where you can control the temperature by a couple of degrees. Science says that if we have our house a few degrees lower than average, the average in Canada is about 71 degrees Fahrenheit. So if we boost that down a little bit or bring that down a little bit, our body actually has to work automatically harder without you making any conscious effort to warm itself up. That's called thermoregulation. So your body has a cascade of effects that happen, and what that does is it actually increases the calories burned just to keep your body in a comfortable homeostasis, right? Or just a reliable temperature. The second thing that happens when we're cold is something called thermogenesis. So thermogenesis is a little bit different. Thermogenesis means heat production. So you're getting a little bit of that likely when you just, decrease the temperature in your room, your house, your office. Where it happens in a huge way is when you do things like cold showers or ice baths or ocean dips, any of that kind of stuff, where you expose yourself to really cold water. Your body is going to go through something called thermogenesis because it has to warm up, right? So that's the goal with that. We use cold water as, well, they call it cold water therapy. So there's a number of things that happen, but in terms of the weight loss, what happens is it actually helps your body stimulate what's called brown fat tissue or brown adipose tissue, which is a type of fat tissue located on different parts of your body. And when that's activated, your body burns fat or releases fat more easily for fuel or for energy production in your body. The third thing that's beneficial for being cold, is the reduction in inflammation that can happen in your body. I know the science to be when you're exposed to cold water, like the cold shower, the cold, the ocean dip, the lake dip, the cold tub, any of that stuff. There's a lot of science that shows that your body can decrease inflammation. Now, there are a lot of associations with increase of fat content with increase of inflammation. So that's just sort of a byproduct of being cold, is that you're going to burn some fat, number one, and then you're also going to decrease some inflammation. So that's a huge bonus. Our second weird strategy is don't eat. This was a popular opinion or statement in fad diets. So that's actually not what I'm talking about. When I say don't eat, I'm talking about something called fasting. So you've probably heard of that, intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is one of the most simple things ever. Intermittent fasting means we have breaks in our day or our life on a 24-hour cycle where we don't eat. So the term breakfast, generally known as the first meal of the day, it is spelled break fast. It means that when you're consuming that meal, you're breaking the fast. So you're consuming food, which is shifting your body into a whole different realm of production and digestion and caloric intake and all that kind of stuff, and energy intake. So when I say don't eat, I'm talking about fasting. So there are two reasons that I want to name that fasting can help with weight loss. Okay, so the first thing is when we have specific windows of time when we're not eating. By the way, that's not weird. No one eats for 24 hours. No one eats constantly. So everyone fasts to a certain extent. Just commonly what's happening in our society is that people are eating for longer stretches of time and they're not eating for shorter stretches of time. So the body adapts to that, and it's not necessarily more beneficial for weight loss. So the common strategy is to do something like a 16/8. What that means is you're eating for 8 hours of the day. That doesn't mean constantly. It just means from the first time you're eating. So say your breakfast, it means if you were to eat breakfast at a certain time, 8 hours later is when you would be finishing your last meal for the day. So you wouldn't have snacks or meals after that window. And it means that 16 hours of the day and or your sleep, you're not eating. So the sleep is pretty easy not to eat in your sleep. So that actually counts for that window. So what fasting can do for you is by practicing those those times of not eating, it can actually help stabilize cravings for any types of food and helps to regulate things like hunger and appetite. So the other major benefit is when you implement intermittent fasting into your lifestyle, when you add in resistance training to it, there's been some science and some studies showing that those things in conjunction can help reduce weight or decrease fat, increase fat loss, however you want to look at it. Less fat. So you're not eating for certain times and you're also adding in some resistance training. Resistance training is, again, a very simple term. Resistance training just means you're adding resistance to your body. So for some folks, walking could technically also be resistance training. The term resistance is not specific to certain exercise necessarily. It depends on your ability, your capacity. But for most people, they would assume and associate resistance training with weight training, and that's correct to think that. Okay, we're on to our third weird hack for fat loss. So I'm going to completely be hypocritical here from the second point. I'm going to say eat more. So you can actually do all these three things in your same kind of day. Eat more. What I mean by that is you're actually going to eat more protein. Okay? People are eating chronically low amounts of protein. I'm not talking about the bodybuilder. They're not. Most people are not eating enough protein to stabilize and manage their energy levels, their muscle growth levels. It's a bit of an issue, and it's a really simple fix. So when I'm talking about eat more, I'm talking about protein. Benefits of eating more protein, it's going to help you stay satiated. You're not going to feel like eating quite as much if you start to increase your protein. It's going to help you feel more full. What increasing your protein intake also does is it helps boost your metabolic rate, which is a really complex process that builds muscle and burns fat, as well as associates all the other energy systems that are working in your body. The other point to eat more, meaning protein, why this is going to help with fat loss or weight loss, is that by eating more protein, you're going to help facilitate more muscle growth. Okay, this isn't going to do it on its own per se. You need to add in some exercise, but by adding in more protein, you're going to be more likely to build more muscle. The cool thing about muscle is it works for you. So as you build more muscle is an active tissue, which means it requires calories just to maintain, okay? Whereas fat's not like that. So the more muscle you get, the more your body burns calories just to maintain it, which is going to be a really great thing when you're trying to lose weight. So for those folks out there that are trying to just burn as much fat as they can without focusing on muscle, I'm going to get you to look at that a little bit closer and think that we actually want to be doing both at the same time, and there's ways to do that. Check out these three things. If you have questions, you know where to hit me up.